just like desire trees who can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they're full of compassion for the fallen conditioned soul. Righty. Everyone out there in TV land. Let's see. Okay, a few. Need that. Turn that off. All right. Jaya Radhamad Hava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radhamad Hava Kunya Bihari Janamalava Kiribadudhagute Gopi Jana Malaba Kiribadudhagute Yasodhanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajadana Ranjana Jamuna Te Ravana Chare Yamuna Te Ravana Chate Jai Huran Umadhuva Kunya Bihahuri Jai Radhamadhuva Kunya Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Iri Varadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Iri Varadari Yasodhanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yamuna Te Ravana Chate Yamuna Te Ravana Chare Jai Radham Madhuva Kunya Bihari
Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravidikacharya also Teta Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace Abhaya Chananada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Hridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopakavada Sayam Kund Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai. Mathuradam Ki Jai. Jagannath Swami Ki Jai. Vanamai Ki Jai. Shrimati Lasadevi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda Hari 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 Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay. So we are reading from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 16, text 37. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Naka Prishtam Na Cha Sarva Momang Na Parameshchang Na Rasadipatjam Na Yoga Siddhir Apunar Bhavang Va Vanchanti Yat Pada Rajaha Vrapanaha Na Nakka Prishtam Na Cha Sarvabhaumam Na Parameshcham Na Rasadipatcham Na Yoga Siddhir Apunar Bhavam Va Vanchanti Yat Pada Raja Prapannaha Na Nakka Prishtam Na Cha Sarvabhaumam Na Parameshcham Na Rasadipatcham Na Yoga Siddhir Apunar Bhavam Va Vanchanti Yat Pada Raja Prapannaha Na Nakka Prishtam Na Cha Sarvabhaumam Na Parameshcham Na Rasadipatcham Na Yoga Siddhir Apunabhavam Va Vanchanti Yat Pada Raja Prapannaha. Okay. pada raja prapanaha. All right. Na, not. Nakaprishtam, heaven. Nacha, nor. Sarvabhaumam, supreme sovereignty. Na, not. Parameshchang, the topmost position of Brahma. Na, not. Rasa adhipatyam, rulership over the earth. Na, not. Yoga siddha, no, yoga siddhi, the perfections of yogic practice. Apuna bhavam, freedom from rebirth. Va, or. Vanchanti, desire. Yat, whose. Pada, of the lotus feet. Rajaha, the dust. Prapannaha, those who have attained. Translation. Those who have attained the dust of your lotus feet never hanker for the kingship of heaven, limitless sovereignty, the position of Brahma or rulership over the earth. They are not interested even in the perfections of yoga or in liberation itself. You can repeat. Those who have attained the dust of your lotus feet never hanker for the kingship of heaven, limitless sovereignty, the position of Brahma, or rulership over the earth. They are not interested even in the perfections of yoga or in liberation itself. So there's no purport, but so we're going to comment a little. Nanakaprishtam nacha sarvabhaumam naparamishcham narasaripatyam yoga siddhira punarbhavam va munshanti utpada raja prapannaha. So, Om Ganatam Brandasha Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmedita Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So there is a very interesting verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Mukti Mukti Siddhikam Sakalaya Shanta Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Ataiva Shanta. That means, basically, translated, Mukti means Sanskrit. So there's two types of Sanskrit that we have, let's say, in this world. One, of course, is the gross Sanskrit of rubbing the senses against their sense objects. And the other type is more subtle, like mental happiness and different things that are more subtle. There's the gross senses, the subtle senses. And then there's mukti, bhukti, mukti. Mukti, of course, means liberation. And we know the Bhagavatam states, Rudikachena parampada patanchito yusmad angreyaha yene ravajaksha vimuktamanina payastabhavad avashuddhabhuya. I turn the verse around. I said the second part in front of the first verse part. So anyway, so those who have impure intelligence, they aspire for this. I'm paraphrasing the verse. They aspire for this mukti, but they have impure avashuddha buddhiya. And then what happens is they again fall down to the material world. Ruyakachena parampadam. They come down from parampadam. Parampadam means that, for lack of better body language, point up there. it's not really there. I mean, it's not that heaven is up there. You know, sometimes heaven, hell, anyway. But this is a figurative expression. So they fall down for lack of better activities, and come back and take birth and execute, sometimes Prabhupada commented, pious activities or charitable activities on this earth plane, because they're not satisfied. So bhukti mukti siddhikam sakale ashanta, they are not peaceful. Why are they not peaceful? Because as far as the gross or subtle senses are concerned, avitam ganametena gyanino nityavayuna kamarupena kontya dushprena lenacha, because it's like throwing gasoline into a fire. It's never satisfied. The more you have, the more you want. Just like recently, there's been some very rich man who started to sell some of his houses in California. You probably read about this. I'm not going to mention his name. And each house had like 50 bedrooms or 20 bedrooms or 30 bedrooms in it. You know, how can you be happy with so many bedrooms? Just like that story of that sage who would live for as many lifetimes as Brahmas. He had hairs, basically. And he didn't even take any trouble to build himself a house or make a shelter for himself. And he was asked, why didn't you do that? And he answered, life is very short. Of course, I'm not saying we should imitate him. So anyway, so bhukti, and then mukti, of course, because you fall down. And then siddhi doesn't mean the place where you live. It means powers, the Ashta siddhis, Prapti siddhi, Lagima siddhi, Mahima siddhi. Prapti, I've always wanted to have Prapti siddhi, because then I could just reach out and make a withdrawal from the bank without losing any money from my bank account, reach out, Prapti siddhi. Or get a mango to offer to the deities one morning without going to the supermarket. Just get a mango directly from Fiji. So, bhukti mukti siddhi kam sakalaya santa. So one is not peaceful. So that's the real point, why one is not satisfied, because you're just not in your constitutional position. Bhukti mukti siddhi kam. So you have to be situated. The example Prabhupada gave, which I gave many times, is that one has to be like the fish in the water. Without being in the water, then the fish can never be happy. So therefore, how can the soul be shanti, or peaceful at least? Because without peace, Krishna says, you can't be happy, isn't it? I mean, how can you be happy if your mind is all agitated all the time? So, of course, Krishna bhakta nishkam ataiva shanta. And therefore, only by pure devotional service can you become happy. Krishna bhakta nishkam ataiva shanta. So, then also, I was thinking about Gopakumar's story in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, that even in Krishna consciousness, you can only really be happy in your own constitutional position in Krishna consciousness. Like we were talking yesterday, I was talking to someone on the internet yesterday, and we were talking about how we all have a constitutional position in the spiritual realm. And, of course, I was mentioning the 5 rasas in relationship to Krishna, Shanta ras, Dasha ras, Sakya ras, Vatsalya ras, Madhurya ras. And then, of course, I said something very funny. I said, I'm not interested simply in Shanta ras, so let's just talk about 4. Because pure Shanta ras, devotees are not interested in. Pure Shanta ras means basically it's like impersonalism, just appreciating the greatness of God. For that, you can go to the church. But, God is great. He is great. There's no doubt about it. But Shanta ras mixed with some dasha is actually very good, with servitude. But pure Shanta ras, we're not interested. So I was talking about And I was saying that each and every one of us has that particular one of the four relationships, and it's part of your constitution. And this devotee asked me, then how do you realize it? How do you know? And then as I was talking to her, she was remembering the one class I gave that when I was a young devotee, I was reading about the coward boys, and I thought, boy, I must be a coward boy. You know, I'd just been in the movement 1 week, and I was reading Krishna book at night with the other coward boys. Sorry, brahmacharis. And we all looked at each other and said, we're coward boys. So I said, we just don't project our material conceptions upon the realm of the absolute. You know, I have certain desires in this life, you know, like I may like to eat ladus, of course I don't. But anyway, let's say, hypothetically, I like to eat ladus, and therefore, I must be eating ladus in the spiritual world. Or people would ask Prabhupada questions, you know, do they have ice cream in the spiritual world? Or do they have snow because they like to ski? You know, stupid questions because they're just projecting the material contamination or their material conceptions or material mentality upon the realm of the absolute. You know, people ask questions, well, will we remember this lifetime when we go back to Godhead? And my answer is no. Because this lifetime is temporary. And one thing we may remember, I was pointing this out, is that we may remember the people who we are associated with from lifetime to a lifetime. That is devotees, you know, spiritual association. You know, the bodies change. Like in next lifetime, Krishna Priya will be sitting here, and I'll be sitting there as a little old lady. So, so, you know, but at least I'll recognize her. Hey, Maharaj. Hey, Guru Maharaj. You look familiar. So, but as far as, and then the question was raised, that as far as people who are not Krishna conscious, what about this concept of soul groups? You understand? Soul groups, you know, travel together. And I said, yes, sometimes it's like that. There's different soul groups. You become your dog becomes you in the next life, and you're a nice group. And wife becomes husband becomes wife, you know, back and forth, one from one lifetime to another. But after some time, these particular soul groups, they drift apart. Like you have, and I use the Mayavadi example, like seaweed. You know, like pieces of seaweed, sometimes they float together, but then in time they float apart. So anyway, so we all have a particular relationship in the spiritual world, and particular associates in the spiritual world, and a particular place that satisfies us, and a particular activity that satisfies us. And I was thinking about this in relationship to Gopal Kumar, who went through different abodes of the Lord, and not only that, in relationship to this verse, he had different material positions given to him in the course of his spiritual progress. And he kept rejecting them all, even though those material positions were actually very, very opulent. He just wasn't satisfied. So that's really the point I'm making. And I'm going to go through those different material positions in a second. That not only will we not be satisfied with bhukti, mukti, or siddhi, which is mentioned here in this verse, but we won't be satisfied until we're actually in our own constitutional position. Like if you're a Ram Bhakta constitutionally, like Hanuman, you're not going to be satisfied in Dwarka. You're going to feel very uneasy in Dwarka. You know, what am I doing here? Just like that story in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, that Dwarkadish, that is Krishna in Dwarka, he called Hanuman to come and see him. And he sent Garuda, and Garuda was unable to persuade Hanuman to come. In fact, Garuda had a traumatic experience because Hanuman basically flicked his tail, and Garuda... This story is there in the Puranas, too. I was always wondering where that story came from that Sanatana Goswami told. And sometimes you read the stories like Sanatana Goswami told the stories. Where did that come from? Is he just like, imagining, or to present the Siddhanta, coming up with some particular story? What's actually there in the Puranas? I read that story. So anyway, so Garuda goes flying back, and he says, basically, Hanuman's not coming, and Hanuman gave me the thrashing of my life. And then Krishna said, you go back and you tell him Sita and Ram want to see him. And Krishna took the form of Sita, and Rukmini took the form, Krishna took the form, of Ram, and Rukmini took the form of Sita. And Hanuman came gladly on his own power. So, there's a satisfaction when one fits in. It's just like puzzle pieces. I don't remember if any of you played with puzzles when you were young. I'm sure everybody did. You had these... I remember I had a puzzle with like 3,000 pieces. Not just one of these kiddie puzzles. And it just like... we put it all there. And I just kept trying to fit... forcing pieces to go where they didn't belong. You know me, I get frustrated. So I said, no, it goes in there. It must go in there. But it didn't go in there. And being patient, eventually I realized where those puzzle pieces went, and I was able to complete the puzzle after about 10 hours. Very interesting. So spiritual life is something like that. You can hear in the kitchen, or? Okay. Spiritual life is something like that. You got to figure out where you fit in. And so here's the story of Gopakumar, who was having some trouble figuring out where he fit in. Of course, he was given this mantra, which is called the Gopal mantra. And by this Gopal mantra, as is the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, this Gopal mantra is like a desire tree, like the Hare Krishna mantra. In other words, you can get what you want, like we described in Vrindavan, how if you embrace the desire trees, you actually get what you want, even if you want the wrong thing. There's that story I told many times before about one of my godbrothers who I thought would be well-situated not getting married again because he was about 50 years old. And I begged the desire tree to allow him to remain unmarried. And when he heard that, he got very upset with me. And he ran up to the same desire tree and begged the desire tree in an opposite way. And then he ended up getting married and had an instant family. Like they say, just add water and had an instant family, 3 children immediately. Even though previously he had a family with 2 or 3 other children. Anyway, this is not a story about sannyas. So it's a question of what you desire. So when you chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, you have to chant with your heart, desiring pure devotional service. We're going to describe in a second how to achieve prema. This is also from the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So anyway, so Gopakumar, he really wanted, well, he didn't know what he wanted in the beginning. He was born in Braj. And he was chanting this Gopal mantra. And what happened, I'm going to go through the different things. After he started chanting the Gopal mantra, he became a king, first of all, in some capital in India. And he really wasn't happy doing that. And he went to Jagannath Puri. He became the king of Jagannath Puri. Not that he was desiring these things, but he was trying out these different situations. It was bhukti first of all, and then mukti. You'll explain what you'll hear about that in a second. He was trying out these different situations. Then he became Indra. Talk about bhukti at that particular point. Indra means You get a lot of enjoyment. I mean, you'd like to see dancing girls? Become Indra. You know, Indra has these beautiful dancing girls, the apsaras, and everything like that. And then after become Indra, he went to Maharloka. But the whole time, because he didn't fit in those particular situations, he kept his same dress. You know, usually if you become Indra, you look different. But when he went to all these different locales and assumed these different positions, he looked exactly like a coward boy. Can you imagine going to the heavenly planets and then being introduced to Indra, and he looks like a coward boy? Indra? Is that you? You know, Vaishya. And so then he goes to Maharloka, and he keeps the same dress. And then he goes into Tapaloka, and where everybody's just meditating, and he's not happy with that either. And he's also dressed like that. He doesn't like this trance stuff. You know, just like we have a girl here who goes into trance every day. You know, for hours and hours. And she doesn't even take prasadam. Even when offered prasadam, I'm thinking, Hare Krishna. So, anyway, so maybe that's her constitution, but no, it's no one's constitutional position. So anyway, so he goes into trance, he doesn't like that. Then he goes to Satyaloka and becomes Lord Brahma, and he still dresses a coward boy. And then he goes through the coverings. See, I'm skipping a few things here, because he actually visits Vrindavan in the meantime. Then he goes through the coverings of the material universe, and the Prakriti covering, and the personification of Prakriti offers him a tour of Prakriti, which is bluish. You know, it's a nice blue color. And he says, no, what am I going to go on a tour for? You know, so he's not satisfied at any of these places. Then he goes to Mahaloka, and then there's the mukti there, the merging. And he feels himself being drawn into the body of the Lord. And it's described that the lotus feet of the Lord pull him out of there. You know, you get pulled out. Because he doesn't want to merge. You know, merging is miserable, as described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that this is Prabhupada Saraswati said, Kaivalya narakayate. This merging, or apparent merging, it's not actual merging, is hell. Then he goes to Vaikuntha, and he still dresses a coward boy. And the people of Vaikuntha say, you know, why you dress as a miserly coward boy there? You know, change your dress. And he's still playing his flute. And he runs up to Vaikunthanath, which is actually Narayan in this spiritual world. And he says, oh, Gopal. So this is the point we were making in the previous class, that one actually sees each and every incarnation of the Lord, or avatar, or manifestation of the Lord, as Krishna. Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa, Keshavadrita Kurva Sharira, Haladara Rupa, etc. Then he goes to Ayodhya, and still he's not satisfied. And then he goes to Dwarka, and he's still not satisfied. And Narada tells him, this is very interesting, this is what I want to relate in class. Narada actually tells him how to go to Goloka. He said, he gives 10 different qualities to realize one's identity in Goloka, because Gopakumar is ultimately a Goloka Vasi. He's ultimately a coward boy. He's not going to be happy anywhere else. Doesn't mean that we're coward boys, or we may be situated in Goloka in our eternal spiritual identity. We may be situated in Ayodhya, and we'll be happy there, like Hanuman. Wherever you're meant to go, whatever your nature is, you'll be happy. Devotees ask the question sometimes, can we change our nature? Yeah, if you wanted to. I mean, yes, theoretically. But you're happy. You're situated, you know, where you are. I mean, just like I'm a sannyasi. I'm happy. Someone says, can you change your ashram? Why the hell would I do that? I wouldn't be satisfied anywhere, Theoretically, one always has the choice. I could jump off the building if I want. Can you jump off the building? Yeah. Am I going to do it? No. So you all have this constitutional nature, and that's where you'll be satisfied. That's the best for you. Anyway, so I wanted to read these 10 ways to achieve prema. One is to have a strong desire. Of course, Rupa Goswami talks about that. He says, lallium, intense desire, or tears coming from the eyes. Prabhupada said tears. And my godbrother, Gaur Govinda Maharaj, would describe his ashram there as a crying ashram. One has to cry out to Krishna when they chant. Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram, like you're chanting the Shikshashika every day. Second one is you have to overcome the obstacles. Obstacles means not the speed limit while you're driving the car. I just read yesterday someone had driven a car at almost 200 miles an hour. He got a ticket. Anyway, because of the corona, not many people on the road. But obstacles means the anarthas. You have to overcome them. You have to deal with them. You have to tolerate them. People ask me, what do you do? These desires, the agitation. I said, tolerate. Tam statiksha shabharata. Vacho vegam manasa krota vegam, isn't it? It doesn't say they'll go away. Where did Krishna say they'll go away as long as you have this not stupid material body, but as long as you have this body? It's going to be there. You're going to get your aches and pains and, like this morning, my thigh was hurting a little bit. I still got up. I tolerated it. Mangalarti, you tolerate. Oh, I'm depressed. Get up, you rascal. Anyway, so getting back to the point. So 3 is meditate about, the third one is meditate and sing about the pastimes in Braj, or many of Krishna's pastimes. Just like last night, I was listening to a very nice song. It was sung by a beautiful, wonderful devotee. About Queen Kunti's prayers. I mean, it's very beautiful. She was singing it. I think I sent some of you a link of this. And Janavi Harrison, very beautiful. And I was just like, wow, I felt like I was in the spiritual world. So you hear, you sing about these pastimes in Braj. Of course, those pastimes. We're not in Braj, but they're Krishna's pastimes. We see Krishna. 4, keep association with those who have prema. In other words, you associate with Prabhupada. Prabhupada definitely has prema. 5, you keep your prema concealed. You don't go on the internet and say, I realized I'm an associate of Vishaka or Lalita or Sudevi or whatever. It's just like, that's your business. I mean, you can have a confidential discussion if you have someone like Ramananda Roy or Sikhi Mahiti or Sikhi Mahiti's sister. This is like Lord Chaitanya did not talk about those things publicly. Just like Ramananda Roy, just a few people, 3.5 people. So the next one is reside in a holy place. Make your home a holy place, or reside in the temple. Wherever the deity of Krishna is a holy place. Wherever Krishna's holy names are being chanted, wherever Krishna's devotees are is a holy place. And the 7th one is actually more difficult. Utter humility. Think oneself incapable and lowly. In other words, but still be ready to do anything Krishna wants, because you understand that within the order of the spiritual master is the success potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even that you can still be bold, even though I have no good qualities, but Krishna has given me or lent me some things to use in his service. So this utter humility has 4 different qualities. Cultivate speech, B is cultivate speech in that mood, and utter humility, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur does in his Gopinath prayer. C, understand the highest humility is in the gopis. Krishna's happiness is most important. Even if Krishna's happiness makes us miserable, that's our happiness. And D, prema and humility are cause and effect of each other. In other words, Prema makes you humble. Humility gives you prema. Cause and effect of each other, vice versa. All right, so we got 3 more here. That's just humility. I think it's very important to cultivate humility, in this way. 8, you should have symptoms whenever you hear Krishna Katha of trembling and, crying, Ashru Taranga Bhajo, privately. It should be internal. 9, we should understand that prema is the abundance of ecstasy and full of the worst suffering. Which is, separation, vipralambha. And then the last one is, you have to have ecstasy because prema without ecstasy is like spinach without salt. Sounds like my diet is actually not ecstatic. So anyway, like Prabhupada said when they were feeding him food without salt or anything, he said, the starvation committee go to hell. Or describe, this is from the Brihad Bhagavatam, comment to all these different points. Or like a fruitless tree. Or Prabhupada would call a fruitless tree an impious tree. Prabhupada said, why, I was listening, actually it was this morning, Prabhupada was walking through a park, he said, why don't any of these trees have fruits on them? They're all impious. So, anyway, so these are the qualities. And then if one has those qualities, you can realize your eternal spiritual nature and be satisfied and happy. And so that's really the point. Otherwise, whatever you get in this world, whatever you get, even spiritual opulences or powers or anything is